Hello, Foundry friends. How are we doing tonight? Hope that you're doing okay. Crazy, crazy times, yes? Hey, a couple things I want to make mention to you. For those of you who have graduated and yet, sadly, you will not have the benefit of a graduation exercise. At least that's my understanding. We want to do something for you at UNA. We will give you a date. It will probably be in June, but we want you to go through a kind of our own graduation ceremony. I might even have a special speaker. You never know. But anyhow, I think it's going to be a great time to honor you in all of you, the work that you've done. I'm so sad for you that you cannot have your normal kind of graduation. This will never be forgotten, will it? You'll be telling your grandchildren about, I remember the days when we didn't have graduation. Yeah, it's going to be you one of these days. So I want to just keep that in mind. Keep that in mind so that you don't lose heart. It's going to be okay. We're going to do well. Second thing I want you to know, we've been doing over the last several weeks Reason to Believe. And I'm very passionate about that whole project for two reasons. One, you are going to be bombarded with time and again, people are going to either in a class or people that you know, relationships that you presently have that are going to say, I think believing in a Jesus or Christianity is dumb. I don't think he existed. I don't see why you believe that. I think it's a fairy tale. You're going to have that. And I want you to have some tools. But there's another reason I think, and that is just your own thinking. There's going to be times. If you're like me, there'll be times where you're going to say, is it really real? Is it really real? See, we don't just believe because it's a cool thing to do or because other people do it or because I want to go to heaven and this will be my insurance. No, we want to believe it because it's real, it's true. And so these talks that I did, Reason to Believe, talks about that from a number of different reasonable aspects. And what I've done is I have my own YouTube channel. Yes. Old Pastor Larry has his own YouTube channel, and I'm putting up a bunch of content, sermons and otherwise, and I also have the talks from our foundations times. And why? So that when someone asks you or tries to put you down, you say, hey, just take a listen and see what you think. And then let's talk about it. Also, when you start to have some doubts, go to this and see what is real. Listen, folks, I'm not asking you to believe something that is not true. That's not what faith is. Faith is not believing in something that you just hope will be, and so I better believe in something. No. It is taking a reasonable step. It's kind of like getting on an airplane, although I don't know when will you do that again. But getting on an airplane, you say, will it get there? I don't know. You never know. You don't, do you? But there's enough reasonable evidence that you will. And so you, by faith, get on the airplane, right? And that's a bad analogy, but that's the best I can quickly come up with. I want you to have those tools in your belt so that you can help yourself out, okay? Now, let's get on to tonight. What are we talking about? Well, I thought it'd be good to talk about something that we're all experiencing. Stress. You ready? Breathe in. Breathe out. That's it. Feeling better now? Not really. We're all experiencing stress in this coronavirus. But, what comes to my mind is that you might be, as a teenager, as a student, be experiencing more stress than me. Why? Well, I got some years on me. I know once this is over, what I'm going to be doing. I'll be going back to pastoring at the church. My health is good. My My future's okay. But you are struggling with school, or finishing school, or asking, will there be college next year, or will there be a job, or have my parents lost their job? Or, man, you may have more stress than I have. It's true. And I just want you to say, I want you to know up front, man, I appreciate the holidays and Lisa and Melissa, Jim, Andy, all those guys that are doing so great a job of loving you and helping you. But I'm there too. And so if you have a question or a concern or a problem, and if I can talk to you about it, give me a call, 615-714-6928. I'd be happy to try my best to talk with you. If I'm not doing one of these things or talking to somebody on the phone, if I am, just leave a message. I'll get back with you. But I really want you to experience as much closeness as you can. Now, when you're stressed, you wish, don't you, that here's what you could do. Put out the bat signal and Batman will come on the scene, right? Boy, you didn't know I was Batman. In the dark of night, did you? Well, you learn stuff about me all the time. But unfortunately, we can't do that. That's not how we relieve stress. What we generally do is relieve it in maybe not so good ways. Sometimes we're angry. And we just blow off steam and say, well, if I blow off steam, I'll be better. Maybe, maybe not. You may hurt a lot of people. You may get angry. You may even hurt somebody physically. You say, well, I was just under a lot of stress. Okay. Or you may go the other way. You may go internally, shut down, get quiet, be internally destructive. Yeah. We handle stress in a lot of not so good ways. But here's the deal. We that believe that there is a God, go back to my YouTube channel, we who believe there is a God and that He loves us and that He's provided not just a way to escape death, but a way to give us meaning, purpose, and strength in this life so that we hang on, then we have a different way of dealing with that, and we deal with it in a biblical way. We look at what God has said, and we trust in who He is. So, I'm going to look at several different scriptures. We'll look at them tonight. You can look them up. I'll read them to you and give you maybe 4 different strategies, 4 different thoughts anyway, in dealing with stress. First one is in Exodus chapter 18. Now you need to know what's happening here. Moses has led the children of Israel out of Egypt, out of bondage, okay? And he's got 1 million people that he's leading. This is a huge organization. And what Moses is doing in this time period is if there's a problem, everyone comes to him. Can you imagine that? Wow. He was day and night, almost 24 hours a day. He was putting out fires, answering questions, giving direction, and it was literally killing him. And so his father-in-law, Jethro, not a great name, Jethro comes and he says, hey, we need to do this differently. Here's what he says. Verse 17, chapter 18 of Exodus. What you're doing is not good. Now that's pretty straightforward, isn't it? What you're doing is not good. You will certainly wear out both yourself and these people who are with you because the task is too heavy for you. You can't do it alone. Now listen to me. I will give you some advice, and God be with you. And you be the one to represent the people before God and bring their cases to Him. Instruct them about statutes and law and teach them the way to live and what they must do. But you should select from all the people able-bodied men, God-fearing, trustworthy, and hating dishonest profit. Place them over the people as commanders of thousands, hundreds, fifties, and tens, and so forth. He says, here's what you need to do. Don't feel that you've got the whole world on your shoulders. What you need to do is you need to get some others to help you. You need some peeps that'll help you. You need some friends that'll help you. You need parents or people in church that can help shoulder some of your stress. You don't need to do it on your own. You need to strategize and be careful in the way that you're doing things. If you think that you are the be all and end all of every decision, you're hurting yourself and other people. You're keeping them from helping to make decisions. So you may say, think about that and come back to me later. So you may be a supervisor. And one of the things that happens is you start to take on all their problems and you don't ask them to fix their own problems. Jethro is saying, look, you need to teach them how to do that. And you need to turn loose of some things. You need to let go. Don't feel that everything is revolving around you. Be willing, be humble, be wise to know when to let go. Let me give you another verse. It's in Deuteronomy. Now this is also Moses 40 years later. And Moses is talking to the children of Israel. It's at the end of his reign as a leader. When you go out to war against your enemies and see horses, chariots, and armies, and an army larger than yours, he says, you know you're going to go into a new land. This is just like you. Especially you all that have graduated or will graduate in a few weeks, and you've left school, and you're on a career path, or you're on a college path to a career path, and you got to face all kinds of problems. When you see your enemies and horses and chariots and an army larger than yours, do not be afraid of them. Why? For the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, is with you. The same God who brought you where you are is still with you. And when you are about to engage in battle, the priest is to come forward and address the enemy. He is to say to them, listen, Israel, today you're about to engage in battle with your enemies. Don't be cowardly. Do not be afraid, alarmed, or terrified of them. For the Lord your God is the one who goes with you to fight for you against your enemies to give you victory. Did you get that? You're in a fight, you will be in a fight, you'll be in a fight your whole life. You ought to listen to my words from Pastor Larry from May 5th. Because I do an old hymn, and it's exactly what it's talking about right here. The first thing we experience when we see something that looks like it's a lot bigger than our abilities is to run in fear. Feel that we cannot get it to get it under our control. And we stress. And he says, don't stress. This is when you need to turn to God. This is when you say, God, you've always been there for me. You are with me now. You'll be with me tomorrow. That's called prayer. That's called dependence. That's called lifting up your voice and saying, God, I am going to trust you. You see, your hard times is either going to make you run away from God, or it's going to cause you to run towards God and say, God, I can't handle this, but I know you can. And I'm going to trust you. Get that? Man, so critical. Well, let me give you another verse. All right? Psalms 18, verse 6. And it says, I called to the Lord in my distress. The snares of death confronted me. I called to the Lord in my distress, and I cried to my God for help. From his temple he heard my voice, and my cry reached his ears. Here is the psalmist, David, who was in trouble all the time. You talk about stress. He had a king after him that wanted him dead. He was wandering into enemy territory. He didn't know where his next meal was coming from. He was in trouble. And so he says, I cried out of my stress, and God heard me. Now, did he change his situation immediately? No. You go back through there and you're going to find it didn't change things immediately, but instead, he knew. Why? Why did he know? Because he'd always been with God, had always been with him, and he said, I'm trusting him now. I know he heard me. Listen, when you pray out to God, God will always answer you. You got that? Three ways. He'll always answer you. No, yes, not now. But God is never absent. You believe that? I'm not sure you do. Because when's the last time you prayed? When's the last time you opened up the Bible and said, God, talk to me. Tell me something that I need to know. When's the last time you listened to a sermon, even one of mine? When's the last time you really said, God, I know, I just, it's hard, but I'm going to believe you're there. And that's what the psalmist does. Again, stress is going to grow you. By the way, you know the old thing about diamonds. They come from coal that's been placed under pressure for a very long time. You're a diamond in the rough. Your life is being made more resilient as you trust in Him more completely. Well, one last one. One last one. You ready? New Testament, Ephesians, chapter 5, and verse 15. Here's what he says. Pay careful attention then to how you live, not as unwise, but as wise. Wise, not unwise. Making the most of the time, because the days are evil. He's saying, look, make your time count, because there's enough bad stuff in this day. Unless you really work at it, your time will be taken from you. Don't be foolish, but understand what the Lord's will is. Now listen, don't be foolish, but be wise. And wisdom from a biblical perspective, wisdom is saying, I know who God is and I know what He wants me to do. Stress will either drive you away from God or will drive you towards God. Stress is an important thing. You know, I'm one of those guys, 10 years ago this week, guys, I had bypass surgery. They went, split open my chest, pulled my big Batman shirt off of me, and split my chest wide open, stopped my heart, put some new arteries, grafted them in, and my heart's beating better than ever. And you know that one of the things that I do to try to stay healthy is exercise. I did it this morning. I got on the elliptical machine. I went a half an hour, and then I did another half an hour of weightlifting, dumbbell workouts. Not me. I'm not the dumbbell. Real dumbbells, okay? You know, you can't look like Batman. You don't have that Batman thing unless you're really working out. Yeah, you understand? Yeah, you know what I'm saying. Okay. Why do I do that? Because it's important for my body to stay strong after that surgery. How do you get strong? You know what you do? You stress your body out. Yeah. You run harder, you lift weights, you stretch things, and without the stress load on your body, your muscles and your artery system will not respond. But when we stress it properly, give it proper rest, our bodies respond in marvelous ways, incredible ways. Listen, God knows your stress level. And a lot of times stress is given to us in a divine sort of way to strengthen our spirit. You see, it's just like a muscle. And unless you experience stress in the right way, right? Wise, not foolish, you're not going to grow. And so God is in the process of growing great Christian people. You are in that growth period. And stress, I hate to tell you, is one of God's tools. So, do you see these verses? Oh, they're so good. I love that. Just a few parting thoughts. Share your burdens with a friend, parent, or youth leader. If you're struggling, don't internalize it. Don't just let it eat you up from the inside out, but share it with somebody. I'm having a tough time. I'm struggling. Share it. Secondly, God calls us to work and study. Be wise. You know, you all that have been in high school, you know, it takes a lot of work to get smart. Well, It takes a lot of smarts to be wise. You got to do it. You got to work at it. You got to fail. You got to learn from your failures. And God calls us, even in pressured times, to succeed by trusting Him. So look, last thought is this. What adjustments do you need to make in your life? What schedule changes? What relationship changes that may be sucking the life out of you and causing more stress in your life than you should be? If you're crying after every phone call with that person, something not right. That's not stress. That's foolishness, not wisdom. So, what you going to do? What you going to do? Not who you're going to call. You're not going to call this guy because he's not going to come. Put it out there in the night sky. I'm sorry. That's only in comic books. But God is there. Okay? So depend upon Him. Well, great to visit with you today. Keep going strong. Stay safe. And I will see you soon. Bye-bye.